Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. All well?
All good. I think Deb and Chris have got the same jumper on. Well, I think Deb might have it in cardigan form.
Yes, yeah, we had the same shape, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah, it was a Christmas present for me, actually.
Oh, you're not hand knitted.
Charity shop acquisition for me.
You're very good at the charity shops.
So that means it cost you more than this one cost me.
True?
Yes, that's true. Probably, yes. £3.50.
Yes, I've never been one known for spending.
Chris, come on, you should know better than to ask a lady what the cost of something was, because you'll never get the right answer.
A lady.
I didn't actually ask, David. I just...
No, she volunteered it freely.
Volunteered it freely.
Showing off, as usual.
Right, there we are. Well, it's about sheep and shepherds today, isn't it? Or something?
It's quite sheepy.
Gatekeepers.
Oh,
gatekeepers, well.
Jumper.
This passage is the passage I had to preach on the day of my interview for this job.
It was, I remember.
Oh, really?
It was pretty awful, I remember.
Yeah, probably still is.
I'm trying to think which church we were in, Chris.
Well, I don't think David was there.
Me, I was there.
It was here in Loaders, David.
It was
my induction. It was my licensing you weren't there for, wasn't it?
It was
no, I got to do that.
I was on holiday. That's right. I was on holiday.
He wasn't at my licensing either.
I was on holiday again. That's because people seem to get licensed in September.
Who did the acting area dean bit for you then?
You.
Did I do it again then? I don't remember well. Well, okay, there you go.
Yeah, you did
I'll
do
stop
it.
now.
But when I had my sermon for my interview, it was on the beginning of Mark's Gospel. It was the first reading, the first little section in chapter 1. But David got up to read the Gospel and started to read something else and then went, only kidding.
Yeah, I did.
So mean.
I did.
Honestly.
I was thinking, oh no, I've prepared the wrong reading.
Yeah, it's good fun. And you had that dopey chap with you I knew from cricket years gone by.
Don't say things like that in a public recording.
You're talking about my husband.
Yeah, he could have been, couldn't he? Could have been. There we are.
That's almost as mean as that terrible person. Was it your training supervisor who tore up your sermon and said, I don't preach?
Yeah, Christopher Evans at Watlington. Never forgiven him, but he's a nice man. Lives in Swindon now. There we are. We have a new viewer, by the way, dear people. We have
just one more.
Well, one that's owned up to it. He was brave to say, I did ask him why it had taken him 3 years to find us, particularly as a church warden. Mm. But David Intola, welcome to the fold and the Rev Chat family. He did like some of Deb's thoughts last week. He told me.
Really? Gosh, that's the first.
Yeah, you can have some of Deb's thoughts, and that's good. And I had a recognition from Pat in upstate New York again the other day. He sent me an email saying, hello, Pat, hope you're watching whatever time it is in upstate New York. I say this as if I know all about upstate New York, but of course I know very little.
You sound very knowledgeable when you say that, actually. I
was just told by a parishioner, a lady who was in church visiting on Sunday, because I said that Pat watches in upstate New York, which is true. And she said, well, whereabouts? I said, I don't know. I've never been. She said, it's a very big place. So there you are, Pat. It's a very big place. Wherever you are, you're welcome. And we love seeing your comments.
What would be more amusing if you'd said, and Pat watches in upstate New York, and the lady who was visiting said, oh, yeah, I know Pat. That would have been great.
But she didn't. But in fact, churches where I were on Sunday were full of people from America.
Were they?
Because we had the lady and her husband in Beaminster. They were from California. And then
they were from Connecticut.
No, that was in the evening at Netherbury. Connecticut's in the evening. Yeah.
Cool.
At Netherbury. So there we are. So a bit of gatekeeping shepherds. And I promise I'll mention the word sheep as well, Chris, just to keep you happy. John chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. Are you sitting comfortably?
Then I'll begin.
Thank you. Very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way is a thief and bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him, because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly."
So we're having our pause after our reading today, are we?
No pause on sheep, I don't think. The hooves, aren't they?
Oh, gone down the Swanee.
Too early in
For
the
the
morning
final
for jokes
time.
like that, David.
Hefting, I think they're called hefts, aren't they? Usually, you're a farmer's son, Christopher, aren't you?
No, they're called hooves.
Are they?
Peckled hooves. Excellent.
They have one at each corner, I was going to say, don't they? You know, they can stand up. Yeah.
Or you could say two in each corner.
Yeah.
There's two hooves on a leg.
There is. No, there is.
So they have 8 hooves.
Well, they will do if they've got 2 on each leg and they've got 4 legs.
2 on each leg.
But it's because
Like a full hoof.
they're a half moon shape, each one.
Yeah.
So each one is one. Each one is one. Like you don't just like a hoof isn't like just 2 bits that. Seriously, there's like 2 hooves on a leg.
Welcome to church on the farm. It's a very interesting whatever. In a few moments, we're going over to Gordon. He's going to be showing us a cow in birth.
Oh,
Well,
God.
Actually, I did
It
walk.
really is rural ministry, isn't it?
I did
know
walk,
these things.
I did walk past a cow that had calved within about 10 minutes of me walking past you this week.
Well done, Chris.
And the calf was already up and standing up.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It's the sheep bit that always worry me because, many a time over the years I've jumped over a fence early in the morning to stand one up that's been on its back, before it died, full of air and muck and rubbish. They didn't seem too pleased. I'd rolled them over and put them back on the feet, but...
Can I ask a question about sleeping sheep? When sheep
I call
sleep,
slippers. That's what they call.
when sheep sleep, little good husbands, do they lie on their side, but like with their hooves kind of? Oh,
Like this? No, I don't think so. That's what they buy, I think.
Like the side of their hooves stuck out.
just like
if they're on
parallels,
their
they're not
backs
on
with
the ground.
their legs in the air, that usually means they're dead.
That's it, yeah.
Then they
Okay.
just put their little hooves underneath them and.
What I thought, I drove past some sheep recently, and one of them was lying on its side, and I thought, oh, it's probably asleep. I thought, but I thought it would, like you said, it would be sort of all tucked up, and its hooves would be underneath. But it was just like, you imagine you'd taken a sheep that was standing up, and you'd literally rotated it 90 degrees, so its feet were sticking straight out the side. I was like, oh. Anyway, that's just an aside.
Was it in a pen protected by a gate, and did it have a good gatekeeper
Well
looking
done.
after it?
Well done. No, it was on the road to Crew Can, but there was a gate.
It was on the road to Kew. What, it
On
was
the road. On the road. It's just like that's called a dead one. It fell off the back of the lorry.
shopping.
I fell off the back of the lorry going to see Abertron Joe.
Gosh, you really see some things when you're out and about, don't you, Jo?
It's very early in the morning. I think this is going to be the worst rev chat we've ever done.
I think so.
However, don't be too sheepish, and let's get back on with Chris's question.
Yes.
Did it have a gatekeeper? You're very fixated on gatekeepers today, Chris. Perhaps you'd like to, in the next 30 seconds, tell us why.
Because Jesus says, I am the gate and the
Yeah,
gatekeeper.
No, he's not the gatekeeper, though, is he?
The gate.
The gatekeeper's somebody else, I reckon. You think?
Oh, there you go. Look, we're
Gatekeeper.
stumped already.
The gatekeeper
Get on to
opens
something.
Well,
the
there you
gate.
see. I remember being told many years ago by a very wise rural priest who knew a lot about sheep in the Holy Land, apparently, that there was often not a gate. First of all, there'd be hundreds and hundreds of sheep, and they corralled them of a night for safety into pens. So people's sheep would be mixed all together, lots of sheep in one pen. There was rarely a gate, and it was the shepherd's job to sleep in the gateway to protect them from marauding wolves, to stop them getting out. So the gatekeeper is the person who lies in the gate to stop people getting out. Then in the morning, each shepherd would come along and call his own sheep, hence recognising the voice. And the sheep would only follow the voice they knew. So one up would come Shepherd Josiah, call his sheep. Up would come Shepherd Ezekiel, and off they'd go for the day.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard similar. I'm just concerned about the gatekeeper. Who's the gatekeeper?
The man who sleeps in the gate.
Well, isn't he the gate?
If you are the gate, then you don't need a keeper, I guess, because you're the gate. I mean, a gatekeeper sounds like a sort of remote figure who controls the gate. But if you are the gate, then you're there and you're not. You open and shut. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Oh, and gatekeepers are often negative, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus is the gate then.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're right. A gatekeeper is more of a negative connotation. It's someone who controls, and it's often seen not as a good thing, whereas the gate is sacrificial and actually they're not just far away representing something, but actually physically and spiritually and everythingly there. I mean, it's interesting what you say about the shepherd and the sheep knowing the voice, because I read once that in Eastern places, that is how shepherds operate. But here, the shepherd is often behind the sheep, aren't they? Shepherding them on. And it's a different way, because my uncle was a farmer and he had sheep and he had dogs and he was on one man and his dog once.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. But that was a very different kind of shepherding. It was a different way of doing it. And it wasn't so much on, they didn't know his voice and he led them from the front. He sort of guided them from the back. But this is certainly in the gospel, it is that image of the shepherd that David's described, where they know the voice.
There's a lot about thieves and bandits as well, isn't there? So it says that anyone who climbs in but doesn't go through the gate is a thief and a bandit. And then later he says, whoever came before me are thieves and bandits. And then the thief comes only to steal and destroy. There's a lot of thievery going on.
Mm.
And all of this actually is the image of the gate as a gate being a protection.
Yeah.
But there being definitely something or someone to be protected from.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a real risk.
I actually had a month or so ago, I got up in the morning and I had almost a half a hole underneath the gate into my garden, which I think was a badger trying to dig underneath it.
Half the hole.
Well, it wasn't deep enough. I think the badger gave up before he succeeded.
Gosh.
So it wasn't quite deep enough, but I had like a 6-8 inch gap underneath the gate that had been dug by something, which it went right across the whole width of the gateway.
Wow.
So that was trying to get in, but
Are you sure they hadn't Are you sure they hadn't been laying BT cables in the night? Because that's been going on in Beaminster a lot lately. So you wake up in the morning and find trenches everywhere that weren't there the night before.
Yeah, no, this wasn't that. This was an animal which most people think was probably a badger.
Well,
Did you look for badger hair on the gate just to see if,
No, there wasn't any hair. There was no visible signs of which animal it was. So it might not have been a badger, but those who tend to know their wildlife around here that saw what had been dug said that was most probably a badger.
Getting back to shepherds and sheep.
That's an example.
I was going to talk about bunnies.
You talk about bunnies, and then I'll come back to the shepherd and the sheep. I'd hate to, on your last ever, not potentially your last, but your last for a while input into this. Tell us about bunnies, please.
No, I was just thinking about how my dad spent, like Mr. McGregor in Peter Rabbit, spent a large amount of his time trying desperately to protect his allotment from bunnies. And they were definitely ones who would enter, not through the gate, but under the wire, over the wire, through the wire, definitely coming to kill, steal and destroy his lettuce. But it is, I just think that imagery of there being a threat to those who follow Jesus is really key here. We live in a very secularized society where we're very free to worship and free to do what we want. And perhaps that fear that we might feel about our faith and following the right way is not something we recognize at all. But for others, this imagery would be still very resonant, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Well, it's quite. One of the interesting things I was thinking of there is the walls around the boundary that protect the sheep need a gateway in it for people to get in and out. And actually, we need to open the gate to go out in the pasture. We need to we need to let Jesus in and out. So Jesus allows us to go out in the world where we are potentially exposed. And as Christians, we do get exposed to stuff. And then we can come in and we need our protection at night where we are protected. When we come back and say our evening prayers, etc. And we come back in amongst our fellows and we can share our experiences of life and what we've been doing. And in that way, the sheep pen, with a gate that we know is well protected from the thieves, provides us security. But it also supplies us with the means to go out and about into the big bad world, so to speak. And tell other people to come into our safe environment. And when the world gets bad and the world gets rough, and we all know we have horrible, hard times in life, it's quite comforting to know there is an enclosure with a gate that we can go in, and the gate can be shut behind us, and we can be protected. And that's what Jesus is offering.
But it's also like rest as well, because being out and about and hit by the world is exhausting, isn't it? And it, being in that pen, I always imagine it as a circle as well. That is where you can, be still and know that I am God. It's actually resting in God rather than feeling you've got to do it all for yourself. And I also wonder if sometimes we don't even know the dangers, and it's almost like Jesus understands that more than we do, and maybe take it for granted as well. And that image that you've described, Chris, is kind of it helps us to appreciate what we've got, because often I think maybe we don't really understand that. So yeah.
And if you take Jesus as the gate, which is what this imagery in John is saying, that yes, he's the one who closes the door behind, he is the gate to shut, to protect us, but he's equally the person who is the opening in the morning and says, now go out. Yeah. And I think sometimes, if you're extending this metaphor to our churches, sometimes our churches are very happy to be inside the gate with the gate shut and we'll just get on with it. But actually the thought that it's Jesus going and now out into the world, we perhaps ought to be a bit more faithful to that opening of the gate, not just the protecting element of it.
Yeah,
I'm loving the picture of a pen behind Deb's head.
Yes.
Well, that is Maiden Castle, and I guess they, they were sort of penned in in a way. But
well, if you walk around Maiden Castle, there's a fence all the way around that outer ring with just the one gate in and out.
Yeah.
So John tells us no one understood what he was telling him. He didn't understand the riddle. But Jane Williams, when I was reading earlier in the week, not Jane Williams from the Bride Valley. This is Jane Williams, the theologian, not the Jane Williams from the, before I get into any more trouble, not the Jane Williams from the Bride Valley isn't a theologian, but this is Jane Williams, the Archbishop of Canterbury's wife. And she says that we have to bear in mind that Jesus is the guardian of our souls and the gateway to the new world and the new kingdom. What about that, eh? That's all I remember from what I read earlier in the week, but it was very good.
That's an important bit to remember.
It's the important bit, exactly.
Well, and that's the bit at the end about I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Yeah. So this isn't about cowering in our sheep pens. This is about frolicking over the hills, getting the grass, and if we're keeping with the analogy, and bounding and leaping with our lambs and all those kind of things that sheep do. It isn't about just cowering there waiting for something else to happen. It's new life in all its abundance.
Yeah.
It's the pen that gives us the protection, but the gateway to new life which excites.
I always used to love when I was a kid, and it was we almost built up to the day that, I mean, it's cows rather than sheep, but the cows were let out of the barn after a winter being shut up.
Yeah.
And you get these cows which weigh over a ton, they're heavy beasts, jumping and running. And they're not just the young ones, but even the older ones running around in the field going absolutely mad for 10 minutes. Yay, I'm free. I'm allowed out. We can go. Look at this wonderful world that we've been protected from. Because they've been inside protected from the harsh winter. And then the spring comes and they're allowed out again.
It's just great. Can you imagine that? I'm just imagining our parishioners and our churches. And, they're like us all frolicking.
That would be a challenge, couldn't it? All you Rev Chat listeners and watchers, go to church on Sunday and jump for joy when you get out of church.
Because it's finished. I mean, because it takes me to Pentecost, though. Sorry, David. It takes me to Pentecost because the stories that are coming up for us at the end of May, they were in the upper room, they were in their sheep pen, and yet it took the Holy Spirit to get them out, really, and to transform them. But boy, what a transformation. There's this energy and this power. It's really powerful imagery. It's exciting.
Yep.
Sorry, David.
We don't want to encourage too much frolicking in church on Sunday, though, kids. I think it's a good idea. Jump for joy when the last hymn is announced. That's what we have to do.
And not because it's finished, because you're filled with the love of God and full of these comfort and safety, ready to go out into the world.
Sent out, yeah.
It's our curate's last service. She might well be frolicking.
Oh, is it?
She'll be frolicking down the aisle, ready to go off to Wales for her new life.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And we thank Fiona. She did make a very brief couple of appearances on Rev Chat. So we thank her for that, and she'll enjoy it. And of course, Reverend Joe, you begin a new stage of ministry for yourself next week, which is going to be good, as you share your time between ourselves in the Beaminster team and the deanery, and with Salem College. I know that the students there will be gaining a great deal of input from you. And we hope to hear that. We may have to write to it. We may have to write to her occasionally to ask for an understanding of the gatekeeper or the sheep.
Yeah.
So we wish you well on that.
Yeah, we do. And also tonight is Pete Stone's induction service over in St. Martin's in Jersey. So we'll be thinking of him and praying for them.
You will, absolutely. Yep. Not that he'll be watching at all. He'll be very busy doing other things at this moment. But there we are. But no, so it's all been good, and more about sheep and shepherds to come, I'm sure, over the coming weeks.
Yep.
And we'll try and find something equally as important and intelligible to say about that when they crop up. So thank you all for watching. For David in Toller, for Pat in wherever it is, and I expect that the people from Spain who were in Australia and they're back in Spain. I'm not too sure. Chris, can you update us on their progress?
Ask as well.
There you go.
They're in Ask as well.
They're back in Ask as well. So that's good. That's good. That's good.
They're back in Ask as well, rejuvenating in their little protected house, ready to go out on another adventure.
Excellent. Rollicking.
That's good. Excellent. There we are. Thank you all very much. As you leave, not forever, but for this next whatever it is going to be, give us the countdown as to where we can be found, Joe.
So you can find all of us all over social media, depending how hard you look. So the Bridport Team Ministry, Egerton and Comers Benefice, Beaminster Area Team on Facebook, TikTok, some of us, Instagram, Twitter, and all our websites. And basically, if you want to find us, it's not very hard. And we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you all very much indeed.
Bye.
Bye, Joe. Well done.
Thank you.